grass. Love on my life, it's always gonna last. Mama love it when I'm going to class, and you know every trial and test, yes, I'ma pass. 40 days, 40 nights, heat fast. Always by my side, always down the ride. That's why I call your name, they come and say today, you're the only one, you're shy.
Hi you guys, I am coming before you right now to read the Wisdom of Solomon chapters 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, this is the Wisdom of Solomon out of the Apocrypha, and it is chapters 7, 8, 9, and 10, the Wisdom of Solomon. Chapter 7, verse 1. I myself also am a mortal man, like to all, and the offspring of him that was first made of the earth. Verse 2. And in my mother's womb was fastened to be flesh in the time of 10 months, being compacted in blood of the seed of man, and the pleasure that came with sleep. Verse 3. And when I was born, I drew in the common air, and fell upon the earth, which is of like nature, and the first voice which I uttered was crying, as all others do. Verse 4. I was nursed in swaddling clothes, and that which cares. Verse 5. For there is no king that had any other beginning of birth. Verse 6. For all men have one entrance into life, and the like going out. Verse 7. Wherefore I prayed, and understanding was given to me. I called upon the Most High, and the spirit of wisdom came to me. Verse 8. I preferred her before scepters and thrones, and esteemed riches nothing in comparison of her. Verse 9. Neither compared I unto her any precious stone, because all gold in respect of her is as a little sand, and silver shall be counted as clay before her. Verse 10. I loved her above health and beauty, and chose to have her instead of light, for the light that cometh from her never goeth out. Verse 11. All good things together come to me with her, and innumerable riches in her hands. Verse 12. And I rejoiced in them all, because wisdom goeth before them, and I knew not that she was the mother of them. Verse 13. I learned diligently, and do communicate her liberally. I do not hide her riches. Verse 14. For she is a treasure unto men that never faileth, which they that use become the friends of the Most High, being commended for the gifts that come from her from learning. Verse 15. The Most High hath granted me to speak as I would, and to convince as I meet for the things that are given me, because it is he that leadeth unto wisdom, and directeth the wise. Verse 16. For in his hand are both we and our words, all wisdom also, and knowledge of workmanship. Verse 17. For he hath given me certain knowledge of the things that are, namely, to know how the world was made, and the operation of elements. Verse 18. The beginning, ending, and midst of the times, the alterations of the turning of the sun, and the change of seasons. Verse 19. The circuits of years, and the positions of stars. Verse 20. The nature of living creatures and the furies of wild beasts, the violence of winds and the reasonings of men, the diversities of plants and the virtues of roots. Verse 21. And all such things as are either secret or manifest, them I know. Verse 22. For wisdom, which is the worker of all things, taught me. For in her is an understanding spirit, holy, one only, manifold, subtile, lively, clear, undefiled, plain, not subject to hurt, loving the thing that is good, quick, which cannot be letted, ready to do good. Verse 23. Kind to men, steadfast, sure, free from care, having all power, overseeing all things, and going through all understanding, pure and most subtile spirits. Verse 24. For wisdom is more moving than any motion. She passeth and goeth through all things by reason of her pureness. Verse 25. For she is the breath of the power of the Most High, and a pure influence flowing from the glory of the Almighty. Therefore can no defiled thing fall into her. Verse 26. For she is the brightness of the everlasting light, an unspotted mirror of the power of the Most High, and the image of his goodness. Verse 27. And being but one, she can do all things, and remaining in herself, she maketh all things new, and in all ages entering into holy souls, she maketh them friends of the Most High, and prophets. Verse 28. For the Most High loveth none but him that dwelleth with wisdom. Verse 29. For she is more beautiful than the sun, and above all the order of stars, being compared with the light, she is found before it. Verse 30. For after this cometh night, but vice shall not prevail against wisdom. Chapter 8. Wisdom reacheth from one end to another mightily, and sweetly doth she order all things. Verse 2. I loved her and sought her out from my youth. I desired to make her my spouse, and I was a lover of her beauty. Verse 3. In that she conversant with the Most High, she magnified her nobility, yea, the Lord of all things himself loved her. Verse 4. For she is privy to the mysteries of the knowledge of the Most High, and a lover of his works. Verse 5. If riches be a possession to be desired in this life, what is richer than wisdom, that worketh all things? Verse 6. And if prudence work, who of all that are is a more cunning workman than she? Verse 7. And if a man love righteousness, her labors are virtues, for she teacheth temperance and prudence, justice and fortitude, which are such things as men can have nothing more profitable in their life. Verse 8. If a man desire much experience, she knoweth things of old, and conjureth aright what is to come. She knoweth the subtleties of speeches, and can expound dark sentences. She foreseeth signs and wonders, and the events of seasons and times. Verse 9. Therefore, I propose to take her to me, to live with me, knowing that she would be a counselor of good things, and a comfort in cares and grief. Verse 10. For her sake I shall have estimation among the multitude, and honor with the elders, though I be young. Verse 11. I shall be found of a quick conceit in judgment, and shall be admired in the sight of great men. Verse 12. When I hold my tongue, they shall bid my leisure, and when I speak, they shall give good ear unto me. If I talk much, they shall lay their hands upon their mouth. Verse 13. Moreover, by the means of her I shall obtain immortality, and leave behind me an everlasting memorial to them that come after me. Verse 14. I shall set the people in order, and the nations shall be subject unto me. Verse 15. Horrible tyrants shall be afraid when they do but hear me. I shall be found good among the multitude, and vigilant in war. Verse 16. After I am come into mine house, I will repose myself with her, for her conversation hath no bitterness, and to live with her hath no sorrows, but mirth and joy. Verse 17. Now when I considered these things in myself, and pondered them in my heart, how that to be allied unto wisdom is immortality. Verse 18. And great pleasure it is to have her friendship, and in the works of her hands are infinite riches, and in the exercise of conference with her prudence, and in talking with her a good report. I went about seeking how to take her to me. Verse 19. For I was a witty child, and had a good spirit. Verse 20. Yea, rather being good, I came into a body undefiled. Verse 21. Nevertheless, when I perceived that I could not otherwise obtain her, except the Most High gave her me, and that was a point of wisdom, also to know whose gift she was, I prayed unto the Lord, and besought him, and with my whole heart I said. Chapter 9. O God of my fathers, and Lord of mercy, who has made all things with thy word. Verse 2. And ordained man through thy wisdom, that he should have dominion over the creatures which thou hast made. Verse 3. And order the world according to equity and righteousness, and execute judgment with an upright heart. Verse 4. Give me wisdom that sitteth by the throne, and reject me not from among thy children. Verse 5. For I, thy servant and son of thy handmaid, am a feeble person, and of a short time, and too young for the understanding of judgment and laws. Verse 6. For though a man be never so perfect among the children of men, yet if thy wisdom be not with me, he shall be nothing regarded. Verse 7. Thou hast chosen me to be a king of thy people and a judge of thy sons and daughters. Verse 8. Thou hast commanded me to build a temple upon thy holy mount, and an altar in the city wherein thou dwellest, a resemblance of thy holy tabernacle which thou hast prepared from the beginning. Verse 9. And wisdom was with thee, which knoweth thy works, and was present when thou madest the world, and knew what was acceptable in thy sight, and right in thy commandments. Verse 10. O send her out of thy holy heavens, and from the throne of thy glory, that being present she may labor with me, that I may know what is pleasing unto thee. Verse 11. For she knoweth and understandeth all things, and she shall lead me soberly in my doings, and preserve me in her power. Verse 12. So shall my works be acceptable, and then shall I judge thy people righteously, and be worthy to sit in my Father's seat. Verse 13. For what man is he that can know the counsel of the Most High, or what can think what the will of the Lord is? Verse 14. For the thoughts of mortal men are miserable, and our devices are but uncertain. Verse 15. For the corruptible body presseth down the soul, and the earthly tabernacle weigheth down the mind that museth upon many things. Verse 16. And hardly do we guess aright at things that are upon earth, and with labor do we find the things that are before us. But the things that are in heaven, who has searched out? Verse 17. For thy counsel who hath known, except thou give wisdom, and send thy Holy Spirit from above? Verse 18. For so the ways of them which lived on earth were reformed, and men were taught the things that are pleasing unto thee, and were saved through wisdom. Chapter 10. She preserved the first formed Father of the world that was created alone, and brought him out of his fall. Verse 2. And gave him power to rule all things. Verse 3. But when the unrighteous went away from her in his anger, he perished also in the fury wherewith he murdered his brother. Verse 4. For whose cause the earth being drowned with the flood, wisdom again preserved it, and directed the course of the righteous in a piece of wood small of value. Verse 5. Moreover, the nations in their wicked conspiracy being confounded, she found out the righteous, and preserved him blameless unto the Most High, and kept him strong against his tender compassion towards his son. Verse 6. When the ungodly perished, she delivered the righteous man, who fled from the fire which fell down upon the 5 cities. Verse 7. Of whose wickedness even to this day the wasteland that smoketh is a testimony, and plants bearing fruit that never come to ripeness, and a standing pillar of salt is a monument of an unbelieving soul. Verse 8. For regarding not wisdom, they gat not, only this hurt, that they knew not the things which are good, but also left behind them to the world a memorial of their foolishness, so that in the things wherein they offended, they could not so much as be hid. Verse 9. But wisdom delivered from pain those that attend upon her. Verse 10. When the righteous fled from his brother's wrath, she guided him in right paths, showed him the kingdom of the Most High, and gave him knowledge of holy things, made him rich in his travails, and multiplied the fruit of his labors. Verse 11. In the covetousness of such as oppressed him, she stood by him and made him rich. Verse 12. She defended him from his enemies and kept him safe from those that lay in wait. And in a sore conflict she gave him the victory, that he might know that godliness is stronger than all. Verse 13. When the righteous was sold, she forsook him not, but delivered him from sin. She went down with him into the pit. Verse 14. And left him not in bonds till she brought him the scepter of the kingdom and power against those that oppressed him. As for them that had accused him, she showed them to be liars and gave him perpetual glory. Verse 15. She delivered the righteous people and blameless seed from the nation that oppressed them. Verse 16. She entered into the soul of the servant of the Lord, and withstood dreadful kings in wonders and signs. Verse 17. He rendered to the righteous a reward of their labors, guided them in a marvelous way, and was wise unto them for a cover by day and a light of stars in the night season. Verse 18. Brought them through the Red Sea and led them through much water. Verse 19. But she drowned their enemies and cast them up out of the bottom of the deep. Verse 20. Therefore the righteous spoiled the ungodly, and praised thy holy name, O Lord, and magnified with one accord thine hand that fought for them. Verse 21. For wisdom opened the mouth of the dumb, and made the tongues of them that cannot speak eloquent.
Fully hair, beat like brass. Love on my life, it's always gonna last. Mama love it when I'm going to class, and you know every trial exists. Yes, I'ma pass. 40 days, 40 nights, heat fast. Always by my side, always down the ride. That's why I call your name. They come and say today, you're the only one. You're shy.